Article talks about banning single-use plastic. Let us see about it. Center has banned the use of single-use plastic from July 1. Ministry of Environment, Forest, Climate Change had issued a gazette notification last year announcing the banning. Has now defined a list of items that are banned from next month. As the name suggests, it refers to plastic items that are used once and discarded. Single-use plastic has amongst the highest share of plastic manufactured and used, from packaging items to bottles, shampoo, detergents, cosmetics, polythene bags, face masks, coffee cup, cling film, trash bags, food package, etc. The report found that India features in top 100 countries of single-use plastic waste generation at rank 94, the top 3 being Singapore, Australia and Oman. The items on which the Central Pollution Control Board had announced a ban on earbuds, balloon sticks, candy and ice cream sticks, cutlery items including plates, cups, glasses, fork, spoon, knife, tray, sweet boxes, invitation cards, cigarette packs, PVC banners include measuring under 100 micron and polystyrene for decoration. The ministry had already banned polythene bags under 75 micron in September 2021, expanding the limit from the earlier 50 micron from December 2021. The ban will be extended to polythene bags under 120 micron. The ministry officials have explained the ban is being introduced in the phases to give manufacturers time to shift to thicker polythene bags that are easier to recycle. While manufacturers can use the same machines for 50 to 75 micron bags, the machinery will need to be upgraded for 120 micron. There is also a complete ban on sachets using plastic materials for storing and packaging or selling gutka, tobacco and pan masala. Why these items means? Ministry official has said the choice of first set of single-use plastic items ban based on the difficulty of collection, therefore for recycling. How will the ban be enforced? The ban will be monitored by Central Pollution Control Board from Center and State Pollution Control Board that will report to the Center regularly. The directions have been issued at national and state local level. For example, all the petrochemical industries do not supply raw materials to industries engaged in banned items. The local authorities have been directed to issue fresh commercial licenses with the conditions that single-use plastic items will not be sold on the premises. Existing commercial license will be cancelled if they are found to selling these items. Last week, Central Pollution Control Board issued one-time certificates to 200 manufacturers of compostable plastic and BIS standard passed standards for biodegradable plastic. Those found violating the ban can be penalized under Environmental Protection Act 1986. However, other countries dealing with the single-use plastic means earlier this year 124 countries, the parties to the International Environment Assembly including India, signed a resolution to draw up an agreement which will in future make it legally binding for the signatories to address the full life of plastic from production to disposal to end the plastic pollution. Next article that talks about is how lightning kills and which are the most prone to strikes. What is lightning? Scientifically, lightning is a rapid and massive discharge of the electricity in the atmosphere, some of which is directed towards the earth. The discharge are generated in a giant moisture bearing clouds that are 10 to 12 km tall. Base of these clouds typically lie within 1 to 2 km from Earth's surface, while the top 12 to 13 km away. The temperature on the top of these clouds are in the range of minus 35 to minus 45 degrees. As water vapor moves upward in the cloud, the falling temperature causes it to condense. As they move to the temperature below 0 degrees Celsius, the water droplets changes into ice crystals. They continue to move up, gathering mass until they are so heavy that they start to fall to earth. This leads to a system in which simultaneous smaller ice crystals are moving up and bigger crystals are coming down. The collision trigger the release of electrons, a process that is similar to the generation of spark of electricity. As a moving free electrons causes more collision, more electron, a chain of reaction infuses. This process results in a situation in which the top layer of clouds gets positively charged while the middle layer is negatively charged. The electrical potential difference between the two layers is a huge of the order of million to 10 million volts. In every little time, a massive current of order of 1 lakh to million amperes starts to flow between the layers. While the earth is a good conductor of of electricity, it is electrically neutral. However, in comparison to the middle layer of the cloud, it becomes partially charged. As a result, about 15 to 20% of the current gets directed towards Earth as well. It is this flow of current that results in a damage to the life and property on Earth, which are the areas of lightning prone. Recently released a report on lightning by Climate Resilient Observing System and Promotion Council, which works closely with the government agencies like the Indian Meteorological Department, includes a lightning atlas which maps the vulnerability at the district level. According to the report, Madhya Pradesh has reported the largest number of clouds to ground lightning strike, followed by Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Odisha, West Bengal, and other states with high strike rate include Bihar, UP, Karnataka, Jharkhand, and Tamil Nadu. Next article is the continuation is how can the effects of lightning be mitigated. Lightning is not classified as a natural disaster in India, but recent efforts have resulted in the setting up of an early warning system that is already saving many lives. So more than 96% of lightning deaths happens in rural areas. As such, most of the mitigation and public awareness programs need to focus on these communities. Next article is all about what works the best. India buys more coal from Russia, urea from US, diversifying supply sources, good policy. India's imports of Russian coal in June reportedly expected to be highest in at least 7.5 years. This comes alongside Russia displacing Saudi Arabia to become the India's second largest oil supplier after Iraq in May. Neither of these are unwelcome developments, nor the fact that India has for the first time bought a large urea consignment from US, with Russian traders offering a discount of 25 to 30% for the thermal coal and accepting payments in rupees. Why should any firm forgo the opportunity of sourcing oil at a significant discount to international price? It has likewise become economical now to import urea from US, which is quoting 55 to 75 per ton cheaper than that from the Middle East, notwithstanding higher freight cost and longer voyage time. But it is not just about profit calculation of companies. Diversifying supply sources and buying at the lowest price for the equivalent quality is also a national interest. India's import of crude petrol, coal, and finished fertilizers were valued at $122.45 million. And 31.72 billion and 12.72 billion respectively in 2021-2022 against the previous fiscal corresponding level of 59.48 billion and 16.27 billion and 6.683 billion. The both external and internal purchasing value is something it cannot afford. If importing more coal and oil from Russia or urea from US forces existing suppliers, the likes of Australia, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, UAE, to lower the prices, it would aid in macroeconomic stability necessary for long-term growth. The growing trade with Russia may not be the West's liking. While the invasion of Ukraine deserves the widest condemnation, the final sanctions and not buying from Russia not really helps. India-China purchase more from Russia, if anything, reduces the pressure on the international oil market. Imagine where the crude oil would have reached had these two Asian countries not stepped up buying from Russia. In fact, India and China are today the world's top two net crude oil exporters, with Russia emerging as a former number one and later number two supplier. The economic and national interest of others overriding its geopolitical priorities is a reality that the West has to acknowledge and accept sooner than later. The next article is about reckless borrower. The article talks about it has a current debt of Pakistan's latest economic survey gives a glimpse of just how deeply it is debted to China. It has a current debt of $87.7 billion. Its ongoing economic crisis can be traced to reckless borrowing enabled by China. Meanwhile, even as the country risks a financial crisis, the military has awarded itself 11% increase in the budgetary allocation, while other heads such as education, housing, health have seen their budgets slashed. Given the role of Chinese lending has played in the crisis in Pakistan and Sri Lanka, China China must also take some of their haircuts and burden of debt relief to these countries directly. Fund from IMF, which Pakistan is in negotiation with for its 2022 loan, and other aid providers shouldn't be used to repay the opaque financing made on the unfair terms. China is Pakistan's largest bilateral creditor with outstanding loan of $14.5 billion. Only the Asian Development Bank at $14 billion and the World Bank at 18.1 billion have comparable amount owed to them. The absolute amounts have also captured the different interest and tenures. Most of the multilateral loans, Asian Development Bank and World Bank for 25 to 30 years have been made at much lower rates. While the loan from Chinese commercial banks are for short tenures at 1 to 3 years and higher interest rate. This means that Asian Development Bank and World Bank leading is around 3%. The loans made by Chinese banks are 5.5 to 6% at current rates, and this difference also extends to bilateral lending. Any lasting solutions to the problem of these countries will have to chip in the form of lower interest rates, expanding repayment period, and some debt forgiveness. However, if China does not write off some of its loan, it will face similar demands from other borrowers that signed from Belt and Road Initiative. From an Indian perspective, the Chinese debt trap will limit the Pakistan's economic growth, in turn reducing its ability to cause the mischief for India. Next article that we are moving into is related to a jolt in Paris. Election results in France put Macron in a precarious position. We must build an alliance or risks more instability. This article talks about both the left and far right have gained in the National Assembly. Assemblies is still the single largest alliance with 245 seats in the 577 member assembly. They oppose the form of free market globalization and European integration that Macron champions. Integrated Europe provides a platform for revanchist French cultural nationalism, while for Mélenchon, Macron's proposal to increase the retirement age and reduce the labor protections are to be fought tooth and nail. During this tenure, Macron has done his best to reclaim the France global structure from playing leadership role in the European Union to engage in the multiple geopolitical theaters, including Ukraine and the Indo-Pacific. Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire called it democratic shock. The Gilets Jaunes protest that rocked the country sporadically for over 2 years, and now the rise of political forces opposed to globalization make it clear that Macron and his parties have not done enough to reach out to those who feel disfranchised. The next article is all about on jobs, the big picture. The number given for this year so far is 10,000 and more could be in the offering. The second pertains to NSO survey, which says that the unemployment rate in 2020-2021 was at 4.2%, down for 4.8% in 2019 and 20. This sounds good because it seems that even though startups and retrenching staff somewhere in the country, opportunities are being created. The government, in creating opportunities, it has assured the creation of 1 million jobs over the next 1.5 years. Exposed, one can say that if the governments are being criticized on a progressive basis, there will be an increase in the income generation, which in turn could spur the consumption. Therefore, if the consumption picks up, this can be indicated by the growth in the consumer goods segments, then one can be confident of the jobs being created. The picture may not be too assuring. The consumer durable goods have been registering negative or slightly positive growth for the last 5 years or so. There has also been a lot of talks about startups, with several companies having witnessed impressive listing. But those who are still dependent on funding from the venture capital or PE funds have suffered setback with this channel drying up. Interestingly, it is well known fact that globally 80 to 85% of startups fold in the first couple of years, mainly due to the non-viable model and fail the scaling up challenge. When the enterprise that works at the micro level does not survive as it expands, for this deep pockets are required if funds are not forthcoming. It adds to the pressure on the firm. A fallout on this is a retrenchment. Startups have been flavoring with several qualified engineering and management management graduates who suffer from the start to with their own ventures, especially in the fintech space. Therefore, while the startups and sound exciting, job creation at the scale cannot be a part of this experiment unless there is an assured flow of funds. NSO data, which talks about the unemployment rate coming down 4.2% in 2020-2021, sounds like good news because it says that during the height of pandemic there was a decline in the unemployment rate, but this has not seemed to sync with those time which has several had lost their jobs when migrants were forced to go back to home. 2018-19 onwards, the unemployment rate has been coming down from 6.1 percentage from in 2017 to 2018 to 5.8 percentage in 2018-2019 to 4.8 percentage in 2019-2020, then to 4.2 percentage in 2020-2021. But during this phase, the GDP growth rate declined from 6.8 percentage in 2017-18 to 6.5% and 3.7 percentage in 2018-19 and 2019-20 respectively, associated with a decline in the unemployment rate, which should be the other way. CMI unemployment rates have been between 7 to 10% during the COVID pandemic. The employing millions more will mean the addition of around 30% of this number. Third issue is that would have been kept in mind is the increased cost for the government. As per the budget 2020 to 2023, the average outgo per employee was around rupees 12.20 lakh. The other associated cost that have to be kept in mind related to pension funds is the necessities build up every year as employees retire periodically. While officially the rate is coming down, our experience during the pandemic does not support such optimism. While the government's intends to had over 1 million jobs in the next 18 months is laudable, the task is audacious. Challenges from both the administrative and financial point of view. This is what the article talks about. Next article is all about 21st Amendment cleared by Lanka cabinet to trim the president's power. And this article talks about Sri Lankan cabinet on Monday approved 21st Amendment to the constitution aimed at empowering the parliament over the executive president, and it will now tabled in the parliament soon. Two senior ministers have said 21st Amendment is expected to annul the 20A to the constitution, which gives an unfettered power to the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa after abolishing 19th Amendment that will strengthen the Parliament. 21st Amendment aims, among other reforms, at barring dual citizens from contesting election to hold the public office. Today, the cabinet approved 21A. This was the draft that had discussed all the political parties and other organizations. Next article is all about change of guard in Israel. Bennett will make a way for Labad. Israeli lawmaker will vote to dissolve the parliament, opening the way for country's fifth election in 3 years. Following the weeks of pressure on Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, a fragile ruling coalition, Bennett will step aside to be replaced by Foreign Minister Yair Lapid. Next article is all about the part of Odisha come under the attack as Russia advances in eastern Ukraine. The captured a town mostly Ukrainian held west bank of Siversky Donets river south of Donetsk. In Odisha, Ukraine's biggest black sea port, a food warehouse was destroyed in Russian missile attack on Monday. Next article, in economy article, is related to 5 states need to take steps to stabilize the debt level, RBI. The committed expenditure, which inter alia includes interest payments, pensions, administrative expenses, accounts for a significant portion, 35% of the total revenue expenditure in states like Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, Kerala, Punjab, leaving limited fiscal space for undertaking the development expenditure. Bihar, Kerala, Punjab, Rajasthan, West Bengal are the 5 highly stressed states after taking into account the warning signs flashing for all the indicators of RBI study. It said Punjab is expected to remain the worst position as the debt to GSTB ratio is projected to exceed 45% in 2026-2027. They exceed the debt of GSTB ratio of 35% by 2026-2027. It said the own tax revenue of some of these states, Madhya Pradesh, Punjab, Kerala, has been declining over time, making them fiscally more vulnerable. Next topic is 4 wildlife strikes daily in 2021. DGCA writes to AIA private operators. Wildlife strike means an aircraft either suffered a bird hit or disrupted by an animal on a runway during the takeoff or landing. One landing or taking off is calculated as one aircraft movement. That's all. If you like the video, please do share, like, comment and subscribe. Thank you.